Hi friends, and welcome back to Lemon Tree Corner. This week in the studio we are trying a new pattern again because I'm a glutton for punishment. So hi, if you're new here, my name is Heather and I run a small handmade business where we make bags and project bags and purses and things like that. This week we are making a basket bag from Michelle Patterns. This is a bag that I have seen one of my favorite YouTubers, SewRayMe, make. She sells them on her Etsy shop, so I feel like it's more of a tried and true pattern than the other ones I've been trying lately. We've only got this and one more new pattern to try before we start actually producing the bags that we're going to make for the October pop-up shop that we're going to have at the Knitting Tree LA. So you can come along on this journey with me. This week's fabrics are these beautiful fabrics. We've got this one, which is kind of a fall-inspired flower, and then this is going to be the lining, a nice geometric in like an ochre tone. So that's what we're working with this week. I think I'm going to add some fusible fleece to the basket just to give it some oomph so that it like stands up on its own. And I think we're going to make the medium size. So the medium size is what? Size 2. Okay, so the medium size is 10 by 6.5 by 5.5. We might bump it up to the large size, which is 11 3/4 by 7.5 by 6. So we can try both and see which one we like. And in addition to that, we're just kind of enjoying the beginning part of the summer. I've started my 410 schedule at the community college I work at. So we're going to have Fridays off, which gives us a nice chunk of time to work on all of these projects. So once I get through these new patterns, we'll start divvying up all of the fall fabrics and figuring out what pattern we're going to make with each fabric, and then we can get cranking on everything. But I really wanted to try some of these new patterns and just kind of switch it up and add some new stuff. And if you saw last week, you will see that we had quite a few fails in the last couple of weeks. So I'm hoping for a win this week and hoping that this one and the Japanese knot bag will be good additions to the product line. And if you know of any cute pattern that would kind of replace the piggies, go ahead and drop a comment down below that I'll check it out and see if it's something we can try. We're also going to be working on our Ophelia Talks Agatha Christie shawl. So I ordered the yarn. I was trying to use my Sheep G's minis for this, but the shawl just gets bigger and bigger from here, and my minis are only 10 gram minis, so this is not going to work. I think it's going to just look kind of crappy. So I'm also looking for a rectangular shawl pattern that I can use those for. So pop it down in the comments if you have a suggestion for that as well. Yeah, just trying to like start the next project. I think at this point, yeah, I'm just going to wait for the yarn to come in, the one that she used in her tutorial, and I'll start on that. I'll rewrap these minis and put them back in the case and figure something else out for those. I wasn't ready to make that project yet anyway. So it's heating up nicely here in Southern California, and we've been to the pool quite a few times at the Y, and it's now closed for maintenance. So I don't know when that's going to reopen. I'm really missing it because today and tomorrow would have been the days that I would have gone swimming. So we are going to go for a walk instead. I think a nice cool walk in Seal Beach. They've got this really nice tree-lined shaded pathway that used to be where the trolley ran. And it's a nice little walking park. So I think we will go there and get some exercise, so I'll take you along with me on that. And yeah, I think that's it. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and grab yourselves a water or a cool beverage, and let's get started. are back at it again. We've got our lining fabric for our first basket. The only problem with doing it this way is that I really don't have time to try out the pattern, see if I like it, and then cut out like multiple things out of the fabric. I have to keep reminding myself that we're not going to be making 10 million of these for the show, that we really just need to make a couple of these, especially since it's a first thing. I think this would be a good use for the Harry Potter fabric, just because we haven't really committed to anything with that, and I have so much of it, and I think this would be a great kids kind of thing, like a kids activity basket as well. So it might be a good like Christmas present idea. So that's what we're doing. So we're gonna do the middle size. 16. So I'm gonna cut it a little bit over like we always talk about. I don't have a big enough cutting table here. This is my dining room table to take over the entire thing. Not that I use it for cooking or eating anymore. It's just purely for cutting. But yeah, I don't have a lot of space to spread out here. So we've got to fold over the fabric, which means there's like a little thing in the fold, a kink. So I have to cut a little bit extra so that when I cut it down, I've got a little room to play there in case it's really far off. Okay, I think this one might be too small, but I want to start with the mid-size one. And we can always just do a mid-size and a large and see what they look like, because that would ultimately be the best way to do it, I think. Okay, so we got that. We're going to even this out, and then we have to cut out a handle from each piece of fabric as well. And where's that one? Basket number 2. So it says place on fold. I hate placing them on the fold. So we're just going to piece the two pieces together, line them up, and cut them that way. And I need 2 of those. One of those, which, you know, would be great if it fit on that, but it doesn't. That's okay, because we're going to take any extras of this and make a sock bag out of them, now that we know everybody likes the sock bags. It's a great use of all this fabric. So I'm going to go this way. So we've got all of our pieces ready to go. I just cut the fusible fleece a little shorter. It's about a ½ an inch in from all the sides, because we're doing 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then same thing for this, but I left it a little bit longer. I should have cut that a little bit more. It's a little wonky because I had to cut it on my own. So unfortunately that's a little bit wonky. And I just wanted to give you guys a review on Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This was wonderful, and Wil Wheaton is such a good narrator. He really embodies the character. He is kind of an 80s nerd. So anybody who's interested in 80s trivia, video games, movies, anything like that, I think you would really enjoy this book. It's a little future dystopian kind of thing. There's also a Ready Player 2, which is the sequel, which I will probably start listening to next. So really highly recommend if you're into 80s. There's just so many cute references that he makes in the book, and Wil Wheaton is just super engaging the whole time. He's a really good narrator. Didn't even know he did that. A whole separate career for him. Okay, so I switched our board over just because I'm sick of looking at the purple. And I'm going to take a break at this point. I'm going to come back to this. It's Sunday, so we pretty much just spent all day prepping the fabric. I've got some extra time here. And yeah, we'll get started on this a little bit later in the week. So I hope you're having a good week, and see you in a bit. Okay, so after reading through the directions, what we are going to do is sew these two pieces together. I want to make sure that my fabric is going the right direction on both. And that's good. So we're going to sew the two short ends together. We're going to do 2 lines of stitching, and then we're going to mark a point, and we're going to fold these in. Now we're going to sew that down the bottom, across the whole bottom. And they're kind of going to be left like that. So I'm not sure how this all works out in the end to make them, you know, we're kind of placing everything together and these 2 points are still attached at the end. So I'm not sure how that works out because we don't get to see like a picture of the bottom of the bag. And this looks more like, I guess, I don't know. It's definitely got like a little arch going on there, so I'm not sure. Okay, so we are going to sew these together, and then we are going to sew the handle together, and then we're going to go through and we're going to be clipping this whole thing and like ironing it open and doing all that fun stuff. So we are going to do that as well. So let's go to the sewing machine and sew these together. Figure this out. Okay, so it seems pretty straightforward, except for the weird bottom fold that I'm not understanding. So we're going to sew the handle together, and we've got a lot of 3/8 going on, so I'm going to put my tape on. Okay, so we are going to sew this at 1/8, which seems 3/8, which seems really far in. We have all our pieces sewn. I'm going to go prep the handle the way we're supposed to have it. Keep banging into you, sorry. And press the handle, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to press the handle, turn it inside out, right side out, and then stitch, double stitch on either side, and then we're going to attach it to the base. So let's do that. We have it ironed open, which was difficult to do because I put fusible fleece in here. The other thing that's going to be difficult to do because I put fusible fleece and because I sewed it too tight is trying to get this through itself. So I've got my hemostats that I'm going to poke through here to the other side. I've also got a turning tool, but we're going to try this first. See if it works. I'm going to put this fabric through the hemostat, and we're going to try pulling it out, and then I'm sure we're going to have to do a lot of work with our chopstick to get all of our edges out here. This is probably why we weren't supposed to sew the seam this tight or use fusible fleece. I'm starting to think this was a bad idea. I might be redoing the handle. I could technically tear out all the seams on the other pieces if we want to do that correctly in the end, but this I would have to completely recut and sew, which means that I could keep the fusible fleece out of the seam, which would be great. So I definitely did not cut that small enough. Okay, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, there we go. We got some traction. We got some traction action. Yay! Alrighty. So not the end of the world. Obviously it would be way easier if I didn't sew it the wrong thickness. Okay. The wrong seam allowance. So I'm going to poke out the seam. You can also roll the seam, but I don't have much luck with that. And then I want to be careful that I'm not having the lining on this side when I press it. Yay, not the end of the world. Okay, so let's press this down. Yay, that turned out nicely. So we've got our 2 lines of stitching on either side. Looks very professional, but obviously not as wide as it should be. Okay, so we are going to, where did my pattern go? Turn the exterior bag shell right side out. Mark the center top on either side, each side of the exterior bag shell. Okay, well, I feel like we could do that now, right? And then we're gonna line up that mark with this mark, ignoring the incorrect mark. And we are gonna sew this down. Okay, so pretty easy. And then we're gonna fold this over so that we can get this one lined up. We had an actual thunderstorm yesterday. Just crazy. Thunderstorm with wind and rain. It felt just like when I used to live in Tucson. So that was cool. Okay. So now we are going to line everything up. This is once again a challenge for me. Am I nesting at the seams? What am I doing? Okay, and then we're going to sew that together with 3/8 of an inch. Leave the opening for best results closed. Sew the opening closed first. So if you've ever installed a zipper this way, what you would do is you would make a mark. So we're going to go from like here to here. We're going to sew this shut instead of leaving it open, but we're going to make like a super wide stitch, like a 5 or a 6, like however big your stitch can go. So you're going to back stitch here, just like you would for an opening, and then you're going to change your stitch length to like a 5. You're going to sew this to here, and then you're going to back stitch here and keep sewing at your regular stitch length, and then that makes this easier to unpick. So that's the idea there, is that we want to actually sew it so that press the seam open flat at the opening. So we want to sew it, press the seam open, and then take the stitches out and flip the whole thing over, so that it just makes it easier when we go to close the seam, that we know exactly where that's supposed to close, so it's not all wonky. So it's a good idea. I don't do that very often. Okay, so we have just pressed this under, and now we can go ahead and take out the stitches, which we could technically do here if we're careful. I'm just going to go till I hit that resistance, because the resistance is where we backstitched. So I don't want to take all of that out. And then you pretty much just grab the threads as you see them. She doesn't really tell you how this is supposed to lay flat. You know, like it doesn't really lay flat. It's the basket in the picture is like laying flat. You know, like this comes out. Kind of like we've boxed the corners. So I don't really like this way of doing it. Why didn't I just box the corners, right? I mean, it seems to make more sense that we would have boxed the corners, unless we're just laying it flat like that. I still feel like I should have boxed the corners. Would have gotten me a cleaner result, and would have been way easier to sew than what we just did. Okay, we will figure that out later. First, we're gonna roll the seam and sew this all the way around. She's using a double stitch again on this. We're gonna pull that handle out. I'm just gonna use the clips to make it easier for me. Okay, so we've got our finished basket. I just did one line of stitching. And you'll see it just looks really baggy on the inside because we have this weird way that we sewed this closed. I can try and fold this under so it kind of matches. I think I was supposed to tack these at some point. I wasn't understanding that direction. So if I had tacked the lining and the exterior together on that corner, maybe that would work better. I mean, it's cute once you fold it, but these are always going to be open. I'll have to take a better look at SewRayMe's bags and see if that works better. I like the concept, I would hope there's a better way to box the bottoms. This is the medium size and this is definitely not big enough. So we will definitely be making the larger size. Okay, so I think after pressing it, it looks more like a basket, which is good. It holds its shape because I put the fleece in there. I'm thinking if I hadn't have put the fleece on this part, maybe that would be better, although the bottom definitely has more structure because of that. If I could leave it out of that triangle piece, maybe that would be better. It might also be good just to kind of tack this, to tack it, but I don't know. I don't know if I like that or not. Gotta make a decision fast though, because that's the only problem with doing this with this fast of a turnaround time is now I have to make a decision on what we're doing, and we're kind of at that point where I have to pick the fabrics for these and start making them. Okay, so if we go for the large then, the large requires 3/4 of a yard of fabric for the exterior and the lining. So we're definitely committing basically, we're basically committing a yard of fabric to this. So I need to go through my fabrics. I think the Harry Potter fabrics would be good for this just because I've got so many of them and I think that would be cute. This would be a cute activity bag for a kid too. So if they wanted to buy it as a Christmas present, you could put some coloring books or some Legos or something in here and have it be like a kid's activity basket. And I think this size would actually be good for a kid's activity basket. So we could make a few more, maybe the Harry Potter ones at this size, and then make a larger one. I don't know. Let's see how much yarn that holds. I think she was using the large basket for her granny squares. So she had a lot of yarn balls for that because it was the granny squares. Let's see, we've got 3 balls of fabric. So that's pretty roomy. You could probably fit a 4 skein project in there. Okay, so maybe this size is good for that. We already have the large project bag and the sweater size. So maybe this would be good. And this would definitely be a better size for like a kid's activity basket. So I want to be cognizant of that as well. Okay, so we'll go with this size then. I should make a couple of larger ones just to have them. Well, I'm going to try ordering a new iron because it's still not adhering great, even with the wool mat. And when I'm ironing, I can see there's certain spots that aren't adhering. So I'm wondering if it's just like a certain area of the plate that's not working anymore. And I researched a couple of irons. I will try ordering another one. and see what happens. Now this is the only problem with stitching on this. Doing the top stitching with the handle on, you kind of have to wrap it around your machine like this and avoid getting it tangled in anything. But that seems to be the only weird thing about this pattern. Hey friends, so that's it for this week. We have a win, yay! We've had a couple of fails in the last couple of weeks, so I'm very happy to report we have a winner. And yeah, so this fabric basket pattern will go into our rotation of our product line. So I'm happy about that. Let's take a look at them. We managed to get all of them done. So we've got this beautiful one with the fall fabric and the dark teal interior. And then we've got the pumpkins with the fall leaves inside. They're very big. I got my yarn from England, so let's put that in there. So that's 4 big balls of yarn, and they fit in there very nice. This would be a really good size if you wanted to do like a granny square blanket and you had lots of different colors of yarn you were using. This would fit them all nicely. I would say this would fit maybe even like 8 balls of yarn if you had them really tightly packed in there. So a good size. And then we've got our original one, which is this beautiful fall fabric. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller because I messed up the seam allowance, but they're not that much smaller. So we've got our 2 Harry Potters, and just the handles are a little bit longer on those. So that's really good. That would easily fit 3 to 4 skeins of yarn, no problem. And we managed to get them all completed, which is great. Which means that we can hit the ground running next week with our new project, which is going to be a thank you bag for my sister. If I timed it correctly, I would have timed it in time to give for her birthday, which would have been this week. So please give a huge happy birthday to my sister Kelly down in the comments. Great to have her here, and I'm sure that all of you would love to wish her a happy birthday. She's been a huge help to me with all of this business stuff, so thank you, Kelly. We also found a pattern to use for our yarn. So still don't know what I'm going to do with that multicolored yarn. I was looking at this 6-day star blanket, other than the fact that it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough yarn. That would be an interesting project to do. But meanwhile, we are using the Clear Skies pattern from Fiberflux for this yarn. So it's going to be obviously like a really wide wrap shawl kind of thing. I think it looks really nice in that yarn. So I've got 3 skeins of that, and that should make a nice wrap. So I will continue working on that. And we got the yarn for our new project, so I will share that with you next week. And yeah, so very excited to get started with that project. And I'm sure that project's just gonna trump everything else because it's the new project and that's how it goes. So thank you very much for joining me this week and getting back into sewing and finding a winner, which is great. And I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've already got 5 of these baskets for our October show. So very excited about that. The stuff is up on the website if you're interested in purchasing any of those bags from the spring show. And whatever doesn't sell, I will bring with me to the October show. So depending on what sells, we might not need to make as much stuff for the October show. So I would still like to make all of the bags that I planned out, but it is, you know, it's ambitious, and I do want to have some downtime. So maybe as we work through these new things, I'll put our regular bags off till the end. And if we wind up skipping one of those weeks, or I make the one sweater bag and the large bags in the same week, we can do that as well. We can mix and match. So very excited about that, and hope to see you back here next week when we make a Sew Sweetness pattern for my sister. Have a great week, everybody. Love you. Bye.